friends. How are you today? Happy holidays, everybody. We're on a special edition today of WTCtv, and I think we're making this an annual tradition here. We have, Paul, the price guide man, and we have the Chuckster again, and we're going to be doing a little bit of year in review. How are you guys? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Nice to see you. This is the only time Chuck and I actually get to see each other like this, where we can actually talk back and forth.
Unless we have some kind of special thing going on during the year where we all jump
Sure.
on a round table type top, but we didn't do too many this year.
Well, we communicate, I wouldn't say daily, Chuck, but what, several times a week at least, and very, very often. So it's nice to actually talk this way.
Yeah. So we're doing live right now via YouTube. So hopefully we can try and monitor some of the conversations going on here. Any questions people might have, any comments they might have, or they tell us that we're a little too festive today or something. I don't know.
Well, tis the
No
season.
such thing as too festive.
No such thing. If we had Zan's way, it's like that would be Christmas all year long. That's his holiday. He's like the Mick Foley of our wrestling card group.
Nice.
I even have the abominable snowman with us.
There you go. Look.
Well, you know what I did? I don't know if you guys saw the Young Rock special, the Christmas special, but Andre was Père Noël, so I couldn't resist for this one.
There you
And
go.
last year I felt left out last year on our podcast because I didn't have the hat. So I ran out this morning to get the Santa cap. So now I'm right festive in my ski chalet, ready to talk wrestling cards.
There you go. Look. Yeah. Look. I'm just sporting WTC. That's all. So.
Always promoting.
Yeah. And then I've got the Santa jacket that everybody seems to like so much. I wear year after year, but
That's great.
It's getting a little snugger.
Yeah,
That's
the
all right.
jacket's getting smaller, Tony.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was surprised this year. Someone actually commented this year going, wow, you still fit in that thing. How many years in a row you wore that thing now? I'm like, hey, back off, lady. It's mine. Let's see. We got live chat here going. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know.
Yeah, we're a bit loose today.
But we're going to discuss a little bit about the year that was 2021, which seemed to be kind of a crazy, again, like 2020 was crazy, and all of a sudden 2021 said, yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened.
And especially in the card world, man, we had a lot of stuff happen this year. And, we put a nice little list together here. Thank you, Paul, of things that kind of went on this year in 2021. Anything you guys want to talk about first off? What happened?
Well, that was the idea when I started thinking about, okay, what can we chat about at the year in review and a wrap up? And I thought, well, let me write down all the headlines. And I thought, well, let's try and rank them. Let's try and figure out which was the most important to the hobby. And they're all cool. And then we can talk about that as well and debate it. But like you said at the outset, a lot of shit happened this year. We
a lot of shit happened.
With COVID was something when all of a sudden the value of all our cards went. So much more stuff happened in the hobby this year, and we're going to cover it all for you this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, just despite values, I mean, we've had just so many cool things happen this year from, a lot of independent stuff. Oh my God, it's been like the year of independence, really. I mean, the last 2 years, really, and that doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. But I think the biggest one, as we have on our list, I didn't even know this was a top 10 list. To be honest with you, just 10 bullet points. But the top of the list, I think, really would be that Panini license with WWE. Yeah. I mean,
do you want to do the list backwards from 10 down to 1?
Yeah, we can do that. So we're just going to go across the board over here. I mean, we're kind of just shooting the shit across the board, doing live here. And we have our list, but let's just start from the top. I mean, we got Panini, taking over.
Yeah, that for me was the biggest news. And on my list, I didn't put the Fanatics because the Fanatics sort of top situation, it didn't we were waiting to see how it was going to affect wrestling cards. And then a lot sooner than many of us thought, the Panini announcement was made, which kind of superseded the whole thing with Topps and Fanatic. And yeah, that would, in my opinion, be the number one headline of the year. Definitely is that going forward, WWE products going to be made by Panini. And we've spoken about it on end, and we're going to be speaking a lot more about it. We're going to be doing box breaks and all that stuff. Yep. But that's a watershed moment for the hobby. Topps has been around since 2006. We've all talked about Topps and what's happened with their product and everything else. But thinking back, and we've got other things to talk about, but definitely Panini, I think getting the WWE license was the top story newsmaker of the year. What do you think, Chuck?
I'm kind of looking forward to the Panini product. As much as I hate to see Topps go, they were kind of dropping the ball until this past couple of releases. And it's good. I'm kind of glad to see something new come into the hobby. Maybe they can do something a little better, something to spruce it up a little bit, maybe some nicer relics, something unique that hasn't been done for a while. So yeah, I'm anxious to see the Panini product. The only thing I have from Panini is some old WCW big photo cards. I don't really know a lot about the Panini product, so this will be a new venture for me.
Well, especially now with, you talk about like, Paul's got the master set of 95 Panini, stuff like that. I mean, Panini was different back then. That's a whole different ball game. It's different now, way different. It's a big deal. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, after 21 years of Topps holding the license now since 2005, it's just, it's time for something new. I think you guys are right. It's just, as a set collectors, you guys get kind of pinched on that one a bit. And we had a roundtable talk on the Worlds Collide that I think is coming out next week, if I'm not mistaken. And we talked with Adam Gilman and I can't remember the other guy's name, James, or it was a great discussion about super collectors and player collectors, and then who got the pinch. And it's kind of like people who collect, what do you call them, mini master sets or base sets. They're the ones that get pinched the most, because it's just going to be so difficult for them to collect now, and people have to start changing the way they approach their hobby now, the collection. And for me,
that's where he started. That I saw. Chuck, you stopped doing a lot of the major Topps releases and focused more on the indie. And your timing on that was perfect, because it just got crazy. Insofar as it's very difficult now to find one guy that's been able to assemble a master set. So me up here in Toronto, I've got to do it in pieces now, which adds a fortune to the cost of it. Like Heritage, for example, and we'll talk about this on our next monthly thing. It's been next to impossible to put the variants together. Like I've got 3 so far. I'm hoping to get more, but they're going to start going probably $150 to $200 a piece. That's very much been the case this year, and I expect it to get worse with AEW and Panini, but that's just life. We'll adjust. We'll get what we can. I'm sure base sets themselves will be okay, but once
base sets will be fine.
Trying to chase down the insert sets and the variants and these kinds of things, like I've always enjoyed doing, is going to be very costly.
Yeah, it's going to be, because piecing together, like you said, you're going to have to get a little bit of here, a little bit there, instead of getting from your normal guy. It's just going to be more,
which is how I used to do in the Fleer era, but back then you didn't pay the crazy shipping prices, and it was more economically feasible, if you will, to do. But just these last, like Chrome, for example, and Heritage, cost me way more than they should have, just because I had to bring them in pieces, and then even still, you get an insert set and you're missing one card, and I have to go out and get that one card, and I got to pay $15 for that one card, and then by the time you're done with the tally, it's like hugely expensive. So yeah, that's a correct observation that you guys made on a podcast, and it's something that we're just going to have to deal with. The cost in general. Like I was thinking, Impact. I bought my 4 set of Impact, and I said, "Shit, I've spent $90 times 4 now, so this is going to be like a $400 set." Not for kids, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I changed my way of collecting this past year. Like you had said, I went from trying to be a completist, well, as completist as I could be, to going down to the indie sets, because that's the only way I could become a completist again. And I was just so disillusioned with the Topps product that I was tickled to have other little indie stuff to chase. So and it had gotten expensive this past year too, to even be a box breaker. So I got away from that, and I'm sure I'm going to get away from it a lot more this coming year, because even though the prices have been pretty high for me this year, next year, with all these new licenses coming out, I'm understanding Panini and Upper Deck aren't the most inexpensive product out there. So I'll probably just end up doing what I was doing, just buying a set once somebody gets it together on eBay, and picking up a base set and move on.
Well, you're going to find that Upper Deck's going to be your cheaper source, like that Panini out the gate with that Prism set is going to be, we estimated somewhere between the $400 and $600 per box price starting out.
Wow.
Somewhere. And
for sure.
We had the gentleman on, and again, I got to go back. I'm a horrible co-host. He was perfect for our conversation, because he went through all this with the UFC stuff. He was a UFC collector with Topps, and then a breaker, and then he went through the whole Panini process like that. So he has, some history, some experience on what to expect, and how the market's going to somewhat maybe go up and down a little bit. So but you can expect that Prism box price to be pretty high up there compared to what we're used to. It's this outside of a transcendent, box price. Obviously, we're looking at, something that we haven't seen before in WWE product.
What is Prism comparable to in the Topps product?
Chrome.
I've never seen a Prism. Chrome.
It's a very nicely designed Chrome. It's their version of a Chrome type of product. Yes, but
it's gonna be like a shiny version. Pretty.
Oh yeah, it's Chrome. It's Chrome on steroids.
Oh, cool.
Well, I have firsthand experience with putting together the master sets, and I'll be able to quickly determine how it's working with AEW and how it's working with Panini, and we'll compare that and chat about how it was with Topps, especially these recent sets, and we'll go back and see. But I do expect it to be more expensive.
And with the variants they have on all their parallels, and the oddball numbering that they do their parallels sometimes, or sometimes don't even do numbering on them. Like, we have no idea how many exist of a particular colors like that. It's just going to be, from a checklist standpoint, for me, it's going to be a nightmare, just because it's going to be a continuously adding on, updating, correcting checklist. That's just going to be, I mean, you see some of those Topps and some of those old TriStar checklists is going on and on and on and on because of the different levels of parallels. It's going to be just like that, if not more.
That's why, honestly, I'm glad that on the price guide, I don't have to deal with the base checklist. That's left to you guys for WTC.
Thanks,
because it really is the difference between it being fun and being work. I think
It is.
It's a lot of work you guys have to do to get those base
become my
checklists.
favorite friend,
What was that? What was that, Chuck?
I said cut and paste has become my favorite
Yeah.
friend with all these extra parallels.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't just list the checklist once. You'll list it once and then again with the first level, and again, a lot of scrolling to get down to that base, that autograph card I'm looking for at the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I got to put the odds out from, like it's 1 and 2 packs, or how many, I try to get the odds on the packs too out front.
I mean, what do you guys think of that stuff like that? It was touring in my mind the other night about, like, is that something that I want to go forward with doing checklists? Do I want to have it so it's so long like that all the time? Or do I go like some of the other sites that you go to, like the Cardboard Connection or Blowouts like that, who have like this article?
Tell you the numbers.
Yeah, and it's tell you the numbers, but that's not really a checklist per se. Then if I'm marking things off, I go, oh, well, it's really hard for me to
One of the things I always liked about WTC back in the day, and what you're trying to get to now, is the comprehensiveness, the completeness. So the fact that Chuck goes and you put the little dash where people could check off on their list whether they have it or not, that's the part that I think is really cool and a benefit to collectors. What I might suggest is, if we have really long lists, because you're going to list them all, is maybe you put the information about the sets at the top, because that's good information that you have that I don't often do, and I don't think Anthony does, and I don't know about Nick, but you're very good for putting all the background stuff. Here's the print runs, here's the seedings, as much information as we know, maybe so that we don't have to go all the way to the bottom. If you have tons and tons and tons of parallels, put that information at the top. But no, I think you want to keep WTC the way it is, like listing it all.
So putting release information at the top before any set information, or after the base,
or maybe like introduce the set and then some of the information, and then go with the base cards. Because like even on the TriStars, I haven't looked, but I'm sure those are long.
Oh yeah, I mean, trust me, the top stuff competes. I mean, 2010 Platinum ain't no small set. It's just it adds, it takes a long time. Yeah, it scrolls, and I think, and I've been kind of subconsciously keeping track of that, in a sense of people's posts on social media, commenting about things like, well, I didn't see this, or I didn't know that. It's like, well, it's in the release information section at the bottom of the checklist. And I'm thinking to myself, are they even scrolling down to that point? Then maybe that needs to be moved to the top. So something to keep in mind. Maybe
that's stuff that's pretty unique to you. That a lot of times I'll get the stuff and I'll see Chuck is giving me the information, and I know that you're going to list it all. So I'll just put a simple line: cards are unnumbered or cards are unofficial, and that's it. Knowing that you're going to do a deep dive on the specifics of that set. So yeah, that might be an idea to think about.
Yeah, that's something to do in 2022. Like, I don't have enough to do. So
no. We want to give you more work, Tony.
Yeah, I just actually, yesterday before we left, we went to go visit some family or some friends last night for some holiday stuff, and I came to like a breakthrough, and it always happens. Like, I'm like struggling to get some stuff done real quick before we leave the house. We've got some stuff to do, and I go, light bulb goes off. I could do this. I could do it. And I mean, we leave. It's like that, but I am happy to announce that I'm very close to start adding images now to everything back again.
Awesome. By the way, that's on my list. If we're just sort of nitpicking at the list, my number 10 thing, and I wrote it down, is after a 5-year hiatus, WTC is updated and returns to the hobby in a big way with a custom trading card, a t-shirt, and much more. And for me, you getting back to it and doing what you've done, and of course with Chuck's help and my help, is significant to the hobby, and it's newsworthy because it's the place that people go to get these checklists. I'm aware of another site that you can go to that has wrestling information and such,
sure,
but I don't have checklists, never have, never will. So, and that's what people want. They want to know what number 68 was, what's number 12. And You guys were it. You and Porto were the guys for all those years. And when you took a break, there was a hole, and it was a noticeable hole, even for a collector like myself that had my own site that was giving information. It's like, I got to go to Cardboard Connection to check this out, check that out. So when you came back, it's like, yeah, this is big. And I remember when you came back, someone made a comment. They were checking every day to see if there would be any change on the WTC, and they were stunned when all of a sudden there was an update. And that update that day, whatever date that was in 2021, when WTC says, "Hey, I'm here, we're back." That was a big day in the hobby, in my opinion. And again, I'm sure Chuck would agree. We've been very happy to be a part of it and to help you out get it to this stage.
Oh, I wouldn't. The site wouldn't be where it's at today if it wasn't for you guys, Armand, and then the trickling of information that comes in from other people. It's running your site. At least you have a formula that goes through like that, but that it's still there's a level of work.
My wife is a web designer, so you don't have that. If I have a problem, I had a problem yesterday when I posted those custom sets and something I just couldn't figure out. And I went down to Susan and she said, "Yeah, you buggered this and blah, 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 blah," and it's fixed. And then when I decided let's make a new category for the unofficial cards so someone can click there and see them all in one go, I said, "How do I do this?" She said, "Is there a category there you don't use as often? Just rename it." And so I have that benefit that I don't have to sweat things going wrong. And
I'm gonna have to hire her.
Well, I know that you guys, like Anthony as well, like it's a bit of a vertical learning curve because you guys are coming into WordPress and you're in the right environment now. You're now dealing with a system that's going to give you the flexibility and everything you need to do the sites properly.
And WordPress is not 100% foreign to me. I used to run RVD's old WordPress site.
You took to it very quickly, I must say, because like when I saw how well things looked, I'm thinking, shit, this guy didn't really do nothing with this 3 months ago. But I think for you and Anthony, it's been great, that you guys have sort of gotten on the other side of it. And now the hobby is going to be really represented well. We're going to have WTC. Anthony's site is going to have all the stuff for sale. I'm going to have my thing. You're going to start linking to my videos. We're doing more of those. Yeah,
I started doing that already.
Those images, Chuck, that you like, that you provide. And you're going to get your image bank worked out. So it's all good for the hobby. I think I said this to Zan, it's like really important that we help and we share each other and we don't become sort of protective of anything, because once we do that, then we can't trust each other. And I think it's important that the hobby is represented by a coalition of guys like ourselves that like each other, first of all, but really believe in getting the information right.
Let's not go too crazy there.
What's really nice about the new WTC site is there is now a shop button on there where you can actually help Tony get this thing up and running good. You can buy shirts, you can buy cards, you can buy all kinds of goodies on there. So if you get onto WTC, check out that shop zone that he has on there.
Yeah, we got the shop, and I don't have a link to it yet, but I also have the auction page now for eBay for putting up singles and stuff like that. But anything like the greatest stuff I have back here, like that's all available up on the shop. If you notice, my 2 key cards are no longer there. those are gone.
I think it's great that you're expanding things. You know what I mean? That it's not just WTC of old that's listing everything, but hey, we're doing a T-shirt. Hey, we're selling cards now.
Which was nice. A T-shirt sold out.
He posted his first checklist was the 2016 Bola set.
Yep,
that was his very first set that got posted when they started the update, and he texted me that same night and he said, "Man, our first set's on the site." He was all excited about that.
It was very good feeling. Yeah. And I knew that you guys had really driven it home that, we needed to get more information out there about independent stuff because it was really taking off. And I said, that's the first thing we're going to tackle is go back and just get all the stuff filled in for all the independent stuff. And once we got caught up with that, then it became like the monster stuff. And I feel so bad for Chuckster because he had to go through and, like you said, copy and paste became his best friend, of doing all the top stuff.
We uncovered a lot of stuff this year.
Yes, on top of that,
notwithstanding the indie stuff that we knew about, we went back, Chuck and I, and made sure that there was nothing that we're missing. But think about the Indian stuff. There's 30 some odd sets there. I've probably added another 25 or so oddball things. Then with Veligan's help, how many more Japanese sets came into the discussion, Chuck? There was quite a few there. And I did the Valentine's cards and some novelty stuff. And, some of it might go outside of the boundaries. But even when I did the All-Stars calendar, I got to thinking, this is something that people have asked me about. And I'm thinking, what else might there be that people might be interested in that I can price that maybe doesn't have to do with cards? And, just to suggest that there are going to be developments in 2022, not just with the wrestling card business, but with us as well. We're trying to figure out how to make our sites more informative for people, get more out of them. And that's part of the game.
It's just informing and educating. It's what it really is. And then, you know, recently we're having people like still having some issues with the grading card companies to, you know, get things authenticated. And it's all about, you know, who's getting that order form in their hands like that. You know, having my friend works over at PSA, and he's of course a big wrestling fan because he helped me originally start Collect, you know, and then kind of dropped out when I took it over and all that stuff. But he's like, yeah, you know, of course I use it, but we also are all trained to be using Cardboard Connection and blowout cards. And we have other sources to go out and kind of look for things. And depending on who it is, they could get lazy. It's like, you know what? I don't know anything about wrestling cards. I looked at the one place, didn't find it, boom, reject.
Right.
You know, so they're not overly across the board, like, hey, let's go to WTC and figure out, you know, if this thing is on the site or not, and help us identify this stuff during our research process, which is,
Yeah,
you know,
I think the important thing, which is why PSA is coming to WTC, and they have gone on price guide as well, is that take, for example, the Heritage. You're the first guy to say, hey, have anyone seen these Ms. inserts yet? Because even though they're listed, Tops put them on their spreadsheet and they're listed on Cardboard Connection, in the real world, none of us have seen that. Well, we're the only guys that are doing that. And we used to do that back in the day with David Porto, like with his list. I used to chime in and say, I don't think this got released. And that's the benefit. So we're not just taking what the manufacturer is saying they're making, we're verifying it. And that's important to know.
You have to. Like, and we've been doing that since the Fleer era, because, you know, Fleer would oftentimes put things out and their checklist, even the stuff that checklist that they put in the pack. Remember those things? Checklists and packs? When they put those things in there, you know, they were often wrong. I mean,
they're not together a checklist now. Not only do I, most of the time I have the base set in front of me. I'll take it, put right in front of me. And the information that's on the card is what goes on as that card name. For instance, an example I've used before is like the card might say on a checklist from Tops or a checklist from Cardboard Connection, it might say Sasha Banks is card number 1. But if you look at card number 1, it says Sasha Banks versus Bailey. So that's what's on the card. So that's what's going on the checklist. And if I have that card and I'm really unsure of it, I'll research. I have about 2 or 3 different sites I check. And once I verify from them, a lot of times I'll hit up eBay and I'll check out eBay too and see what people have up. And on eBay, you can obviously look on the back of the card too, turn it over and look at the back. So I can get the numbering, the correct sequence, the copyright dates. I can verify it like 3 or 4 different ways. So these checklists you see going up on WTC isn't just me putting down a bunch of names and numbers and sending it to Tony. It's me doing some really in-depth research on this set.
You know, we did the Tops Now for years and years that way. We did the Tops Now for all those years. When they started, that's when Chuck and I really started working together closely, because I wasn't touching those and he was, and that's when we started doing those. And Chuck was always quick to point out. He'd send me an email saying, oh, I sent you this information last week, but this is not correct, and edits on his own work that he subsequently found out. And I think that's the benefit of what our sites bring to the hobby, is that you know, it's not just information, but it's correct information as close as we can get it.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we don't make mistakes, because I mean, we're all human, make mistakes. I mean, sometimes we find, I've been using the example a lot, we find things we just overlook for not just weeks and months, but sometimes years and even decades. I mean, who knew, you know, like he made the reference, who knew that the 89 Classic wasn't made by Classic? You know, that's you overlook things. There's so much in this hobby with our small little group of people who actually are trying to do this research, that things get overlooked, and you just kind of, you know, count on people. That's why every page says, you know, if you find any errors, please contact us. You know, we want to make sure it's correct. You know, we want to make sure that you know, the price guide has exactly what's supposed to be. It's a 15 card set, not a 14 card set, and put a price on that. And same with the checklist. We want to make sure that it's the right name, it's the right number.
We do get a lot of help from the collectors out there. I've got a guy that's given me a lot of the Boyd Pierce stuff. I've got a guy now that's helping me with the micro brawlers, you know, and I can't do it on my own, because, you know, you need other people to say, hey, what about this? What about this? Even the variants, when they first started coming out, we started, Gelman and I and a few others that found them to be interesting. Okay, let's see what these look like and how many are there. And we drilled down and had the 9 figured out pretty quickly. But that's the spirit of community at work that allows us to do that. So that, like you say, when your checklist comes up next week, it's going to be 100% accurate.
It's important, and it's close to 100% anyways, but and over the time you start finding information. That's what, you know, fuels the release information section, you know, with whether it be print runs or variants or distribution, how that kind of happened, you know, between retail and hobby kind of thing. And It's just, I'm a big believer. It's like, that's my biggest joy in this hobby is right now for me, more than it was when I was a collector. It's just gathering the information. I'm a huge fan of gathering information. So when I get information from you or from Chuckster or from Armand, it's just like, I feel like I found, I just opened up a pack and found a cool card, you know, and I get to put it up there, announce it, and just kind of really drive home to people like, hey, there's new information, go check it out, go check it out. And that's what we continue to keep doing. So when we started after this, you know, hiatus, you know, putting that first checklist up, you know, I immediately messaged Chuckster, said, you know, it feels like the old days, man. It's awesome. And then I got an email from someone, a message from someone saying, hey, you know, all these years I've been checking every day, and I can't tell you how awesome it was to see, you know, that there was an update. And it was just, it made it kind of, it was a good feeling to have like that. And it's just good to provide to the hobby. And because we're passionate about it, all of us are passionate about this hobby. It's what kind of fueled the Kevin Nash trading card was, one, you know, looking for donations to help the funds, because with moving the site over, with going to WordPress, with adding plugins and things like that, you know, you get freebie versions, but if you want the good stuff, you got to pay for it kind of thing. You know, this is all comes out of pocket. And it's like, sure. I just can't just ask people for their money and just take it. You know, it'd be nice to give something back. Now's a great opportunity after 10 years of wanting to do my own trading card. Here I am going to do my trading card and give something in back for their donation. It wasn't the big drive that I had hoped it would be. You know, the t-shirt sold out, but after expenses and costs, we made a little bit of money on that, which was good. So that went right into paying for some of these plugins. You know, it's just, it's been fun to get that stuff updated and done. But it's been a lot of work doing it too. So there's a lot of time. And I'm sure my wife is like, you know, you and your stupid trading cards, I'm really getting tired of it. So
yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's and I don't blame her. So it's just, I try to squeeze it in when I can, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get paid for this, you know. I make a few bucks off the AdSense, but it's hardly, you know, it doesn't cover much. So it really is, as we've all said before, we do it for the love of the hobby.
And hopefully it covers your costs. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just anything I can do to cover the costs. That's why I do the eBay auctions right now, trying to get rid of singles. I've got a bunch sitting over here right now. We'll be listing probably sometime tonight. Just you know, $1 here, $1 there, a couple bucks there, whatever it goes for, I don't, you know, is good. It all helps. It just helps go right to cover the costs like that. And I've got plans to do things and cooler things for the site. I had a breakthrough last night a little bit. Well, not really a breakthrough, but you know, at least a means to an end right now to go back and get the images hosted. Right now, you can go to the website and go check out and I always use the 86 carnation set as a test, because it's only what 6 cards in the set. And use that as a test. So that right now has links to the images now.
Good.
Check it out.
Just it's, you know, going to be using an outside source account, because I can't really find a plugin that works the way I want it to work. Everything is, you know, basically how to turn an image into a link. Well, I don't want that. I want how to turn text into a link to an image to host on the site, maybe through a gallery or through something. And to do it the way I originally envisioned, which was to make it into an actual individual blog, we wouldn't be able to get through anything until like, you know, 2030. You know,
yeah, I'm sure the technology that you guys used back in the day with Yahoo is completely different than the way it would
100%. It's just it's
that's
a
the
simple page building tool. It was really easy to do.
Click on the name. There's your card. Click on the name, which is
well the old site from Yahoo, which, you know, previously that was GeoCities, for anybody old enough to remember GeoCities and Angel Fire, that kind of stuff. It was just basically you can create your folders on this tree, and so we just had a image folder, and inside the image folder was all the different releases folders. And then inside there, you put all your images so that every single folder can have a card number 1, card number 2, a card number 3. So it wasn't dependent on like, you know, overriding each other kind of thing. So we go and put the 86, you know, carnation folder inside 1986 inside the image folder, you know, so it's like a tree of stuff. And you put it all and just link it there. Boom, boom, boom. It's just easy to do, and open a new browser window, which I always hated. You know, I wanted to do something different, but that's kind of where we're at again now. I'm just doing a new browser window, but now within, I'm using Flickr. So now using with Flickr, you can go into and go like into 86 and then click next, you know, the next card, previous card, you still go back and forth, and you can comment on all of them.
Yeah, it's work, because when I do a post, for sure, the 2 feature images, the one inside and the one out, and the flip through or this new system that we use, by far takes the most amount of time. That's the most amount of work, is dealing with the images. If I didn't have to deal with images, I could do a post to the price guide in seconds. But it's
everybody that contacts me that needs to see a card that Tony don't have the links to yet, I always direct them to your site. So you probably got to be getting a lot of traffic there, because I mean, if you want to see the picture, go to your site. If you want the checklist, you go to Tony's site. And,
And it's good now. Tony's going to start doing the flip throughs on WTC as well, so that you don't have to think about if you happen to be on WTC, you don't have to go out of there to my site.
I
to
have
see
about,
video.
I think I have about 4 or 5. I tested it out. I have 4 or 5 checklists to get
I
myself familiar
remember
with how to
you
link
sent me the
that.
link to the Chromium, and I'm like, yeah, this is all it needs to be.
Yep.
You know?
And so I just kind of,
Because they
you know,
do, they
add it
do
on
get
there.
looked at. And by the way, just, so that impels get mentioned, the impels are still number 1 a year later. You know,
It
more
will be.
people watch the look at that video almost double to the next. One day I'd like an explanation for it, but
Yeah, I don't know, understand it. It's just it's a mystery in the hobbies like that. It's that's a set that has so many mysteries in itself already. It's looked at. It has a Sting hologram card that no one can accurately describe where the hell it came from. It's just I don't even want to get in that debate. That's a whole different thing I want to get in that debate.
the set that keeps on giving you. Like,
Yeah, it's a set that keeps on giving. Exactly.
Should we bang away on another headline?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We got Upper Deck. Upper Deck picking
Number
up
2.
the AEW license.
Yeah, that was the second biggest headline in my mind of the year.
I thought so.
About that a lot too.
We all suspected this. This wasn't something that came out. This wasn't like, well, we all suspected that Topps was going to lose the license, and it was about. We knew that it was the front runner was Panini. We had our dark horse guesses and stuff like that, whatever it may be, but we kind of all knew it was Panini. And people like Adam and myself, him obviously more than me, we kind of knew these things well in advance that it was Panini, and we couldn't say anything until it got announced. But we kind of all had it in our mind for a long time that Upper Deck was going to be getting this AEW license based on that image we saw.
That, and that's how we sort of deduced that. Wait a minute, those are Upper Deck stickers.
And this Upper Deck set is something that I am just so excited about. I can't wait for it to come out. As soon as I heard just a rumbling of it a year ago in October, when Tony Khan announced that they were actually going to do that, I was just checking every day or every other day, trying to find out the release date, what it's going to look like, what a checklist is going to be. We're still so close to getting it out now, and I still don't know a checklist. I mean, they've got to have one somewhere. But the stuff they're doing to market this stuff is unbelievable. I mean, they're advertising it on their TV shows on Wednesday night, which is unheard of. You just don't. The only time I ever saw that done once before was in 2008 when TNA released their first set. They did a real quick skit on their TNA show, Impact show, and
the only other time I've seen that ever happen was during the Fleer years. WWE did advertise for their mail-in pay-per-view cards.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that was the only other time I remember seeing anything on TV for WWE stuff.
But then they're doing the e-packs now, and they released 3 cards with like promo cards with on their e-packs, which you'll have 3 on your way, Tony. I got 3 for you. And they have the card the sheet that they released at the national convention of the perforated 9 card sheet. That thing is amazing. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this set. I just haven't had this much excitement over a new release in a lot of years.
They definitely seem to get it. I was disappointed that Punk and Daniel Bryan and Cole got signed after the cards were done, but that didn't seem to matter. They figured a way to get those guys into the set, and even with the e-packs in a bigger way, So it seems to me that that's gonna break barriers. People are gonna really dig that set.
Are you for people like Chuckster, are you more excited because it's a new product, or are you also equally kind of like disappointed because you're not gonna be able to collect the same way you used to collect, or are you over that already?
No, I'm over that. I'm excited. Number one, it's a new product. I'm excited that it's AEW because I am probably the biggest AEW fan out of all the wrestling promotions right now. That's my number 1 promotion. And maybe GCW is my second favorite. Topps is so far, WWE so far down the list for me now that if we get it, we get it. If we don't, I'm not excited about it. But AEW has had so many new stars. They've launched so many new careers this past year and a half. And a lot of these guys who a lot of people think are overnight sensations are actually like 10, 15-year overnight sensations because they were around early in the indie days that nobody knew of. And they're on a lot of these old indie sets that I have floating around here.
Which we're going to talk about here too as well.
Mm-hmm. So now they're now in the mainstream, and there's just so much. It's not only the athleticism that they're putting on a show. They have storylines that you can follow. They have, they just make it interesting.
Their
everything
product is
just-
superior at the moment. End of story. Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. You got it. I mean, I'm bragging about it because I really enjoy it. I think it's a great
That's
show.
good. That's good though, because it shows passion for the product, man.
Guys.
So I mean, we have nothing else really to discuss about when it comes to that. We have to wait and see what's coming out. You know, we kind of
Yeah,
know
we've
what
said everything that needs to be said. Let's get it. Let's get it here. Get it
I mean,
open and go.
we know what's coming out with that stuff as far as set breakdowns like that. As far as the actual checklist, it'll come when it comes. But you know, I'm excited about it. I know that I recently did a TV spot for a thing called the Card Life TV that I think I can share as of now. I can share that link now to the video. It should be out on YouTube channel, I think,
I saw
sometime
that. You
next
sent that.
month.
That was very cool.
But I wasn't allowed to share the whole entire thing because it's under contract with the TV station that for the first 30 days, you know, you can't just share that stuff. But I think I can share it now. But and I mentioned that too. It's like it's a buzz that we've never seen before. So you know, I'm excited about that just because it's something new, like you said, guys. It's something new and exciting and first time. And yeah, so I got a case of that product coming and splitting it with Zan, and I'm kind of deciding what I'm going to hold on to. Maybe do a box break or something. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to collect it, but I'm going to collect you know, information on it.
I'm going to try and chase down the master.
It's going to be in the set.
I am going to try and chase. Sorry,
Go
Chuck. I was just going to say I am going to try and chase down the master if it's a possible thing to do without breaking the bank. You know, and I'll be able to report fairly easy by talking to a lot of the distributors and people I deal with, the case breakers and stuff. And I know a lot of people like you guys that are getting the product, just how easy it's going to be. You know, and just again, we just saw Heritage came out and it's been difficult again. So I expect this is going to be harder, but maybe not. Maybe there's going to be so much of it out there that it may be possible. But I intend to get as much as
maybe we have one in here for you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Well, the AEW product's been selling out on every pre-sale that shows up. So there's going to be a lot of this out there. I mean, they're selling cases at a time, and there's what 16 boxes in a case. So there's going to be a lot of this floating around out there. I don't think they're going to be hard to find. They might be a little high end to afford, but I don't think they're going to be hard to find.
It all depends on the collations and the seating of the inserts, right? Like, for example, these Heritage variants that I'm keen on now, they're 1 in every 275 packs. So to put together the set of 9 is going to be arduous, but it all depends on how their inserts are set. You know, again, I'm not going after parallels or anything like that, but can I get the 10 or 15 or 20 of the inserts that, you know, that's what remains to be seen. How easy is it going to be able to put together the chase cards? And same with Panini. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to just puddle along as I always been. I expect to be paying more for the product, but I'm still hoping that I can, because for me, it's getting it for the wall, but also for the flip through, and just, you know, it's just a habit that I've had for 30 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah, it's just not gonna. The habit's not gonna change, man. It's just gonna be.
The habit's not going to change, but yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's finding yourself a new pusher.
Exactly. It's like going from
Let's move around a little bit like that. And since we're talking about pricing and things are going to cost lots like that, let's just kind of move down the list here on your list at number 7 here. We've got that Vince McMahon Superfractor.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going to tie that into the Panini stuff like that. We saw record highs on some of this stuff. It's a little bit, I think, to me personally, a little bit because of the, hey, it's the last one of X, you know, this kind of thing from Topps. But could it be something that we might see in the future with Panini? I think so. As far as some of these higher end parallels. I mean, that Vince McMahon card went for just shy of 10 grand.
Yeah.
Now
Vince hasn't signed a lot, right? You know, like Vince has only signed its Transcendent product, right? Or maybe one other one, but you know, so that's a rare signature to get. Like, I don't have a Vince, you know, it's.
Well, if you don't have a Vince, just grab yourself a Velveteen Dream card and cut the autograph off.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I only have one thing. It's in my drawer here, the magical drawer here of a raw deal card that when I met Vince, I had him sign the card for me. So it's very,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very, his signature is pretty similar to what you saw. So I can attest it's legit. No comments.
I saw an earlier card one time that somebody had signed at one of the shows. It was years ago, and it was one of the old Comic Images cards, and it was an actual. You could almost make out the whole Vince and the whole McMahon. Yeah. So he must have later on just started shortening his autograph to that little V that he makes.
Yeah.
I had
So,
these. They're my definition of bootleg. Made a bootleg like a signing appearance in the game of Raw Deal. They had prize cards they gave away. Some were called backstage autograph sessions. Some were called backstage signatures, and some were called WWE signing appearances. And Comic Images used to say, okay, well, there's 100 of these, there's 250 of these, there's only 10 of these, like the Triple H and Randy Orton ones. So we kind of took that idea in the virtual world and made things called backstage autograph session cards. And because I work with a lot of talent, they would rely on me to get certain things signed and give them away as prizes for like Gen Con, gaming conventions, stuff like that, and people's local, who are still playing in tournaments as prizes. And so I was going over the years, getting people to sign stuff. And I remember being in Vegas one year, and I'd been waiting for like 15 years to ever try to meet Vince. He was on my top list of people to meet. And here I am. I've run into him 5 times that weekend.
Wow.
And Porto was with me. And I got him to sign. I just felt bad. I wanted to get multiple ones. So he signed just one of those signing appearance type cards for me. It's like that. And I was like, and I still have it. So
Awesome.
it's just something to keep around and kind of go, someone to pry out of my hands will cost some money, even though it's not even a real card.
Yeah,
And
still though.
everybody's collecting the McMahon cards, and they're going heavy after Vince. And I know Shane might have a couple autographs out there. Stephanie's got a few. The one person in the McMahon family that nobody's ever talked about has been Linda. And I think we need a Linda McMahon official autograph card.
I've never seen one.
Trading card wise,
I have a Linda McMahon autograph, but the way I got it was when I ordered the very first Mick Foley book, that Tale of Blood and Sweat Socks, I think it was. I ordered it off the WWE Shop Zone, and they had a certificate of authenticity in the book because he had signed it, and they gave me a COA to confirm that it was his autograph, and the COA was signed by Linda McMahon.
Yeah, you posted that a few weeks ago. That's very cool. That's a nice
it is. That's the only autograph I've ever seen of hers, and I mean she's a pretty sharp cookie. I think we need to get her in there. She's had her share of TV time in the WWE.
I don't have any cards by her. I haven't. Porto and I met her once backstage in Anaheim at a what they call that, like a super show they had, where there was a draft. They were drafting people, and so they recorded SmackDown and Raw was the same night. And anybody and everybody who was there, like Stone Cold was there, and Bischoff was there, and Undertaker, The Rock, they were all there. And we got backstage somehow. That's a whole story in itself. And we see this white limo pull up, and it was Linda. And she came right out, and the door opened right in front of us. And she signed. We took pictures with her, so we have a picture with her. And she signed, I think, an 8x10 for us, if I'm not mistaken. And then they turn around and slap those JBL little horns on the front and stuff like that to make it to turn her limo into like JBL's car. And yeah, you're right. We need to have a Linda McMahon.
I have the Stephanie from the Diva Private Signings.
That's a great. I love that card. I don't like the picture. I like it because it's on card.
Yeah, I have that card, but I don't have a Vince. There isn't a Linda. There was a Shane, or there's been a couple of Shanes in the Transcendent, but because I haven't bought any Transcendent, I don't have that. That is on my wish list. Is a Vince, and I saw one on eBay for $1,500 last night, and I made the guy an offer, and he didn't respond. But one day.
Monitoring our comments here, and I have a gentleman on here, it's going by the name of Pest, P-E-S-T. He said Linda has a handful of autos out there, but I don't think they're probably official because I don't recall.
I'm not aware of them, but does he know what set they're from?
No, I'll have to ask you.
I'm not aware of any Linda McMahon autograph cards.
I'm aware of
official.
I'm aware of a Linda McMahon unofficial custom card that just recently came out.
Oh yeah, I mean they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful cards.
A great one.
A lot of people asking about those. I know that's a bit of a sore spot, but you know it's they're out there and people dig them. There's no doubt about it.
Of course,
they are. That's a beautiful set. I saw that.
Yeah. I've added, by the way, I mentioned to you guys the new category just for the unofficial stuff, so that people could go and see very clearly what we're determining to be,
I might actually do. I might actually follow suit with that. I know we talked about this before in the past. I've been debating about. I didn't want to do any categories like before, like the old WT site with Japanese and stickers and CCG. And so it was just, I don't know. But I think I'm going to go that route too. I'm probably going to go and mimic that and have an unofficial section. And I want to keep them in their years, but then I'm going to have them, over in that other section as well.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. Everything goes into their year, but I just want them to be marked so it's very clear. Now, an interesting discussion becomes the art cards. I decided that Kevin Gust and 75 Kings, because they're art, are different than the ones where people are actually using images that they
Sure.
don't have.
I looked at your list and I was like, wonder
Yeah,
if
that's what I'm getting at. If there's anything
Kevin
on
Nash
that
is going to be
list,
there.
sorry?
I wonder
If
if that
there's-
Kevin Nash car was going to be there.
No, because you have rights to it.
Yes.
We know that you got the rights to the artwork and everything. Like even Corey's hand signed cards, they're hand signed by the guys themselves. The mirror
Sure.
autographs, these were made for the guys to sign. So when a performer is signing a card of himself, it's not a bootleg. You know what I mean? But the whole idea is, if ever,
I don't agree with that. If a guy is signing a card for himself, it immediately is not a bootleg anymore. Not true.
okay,
I think
well,
it's a bootleg. It's a bootleg card using somebody else's images. If it's using a WWE owned image,
yes,
and then I
correct.
turn around and have somebody sign
Yes.
it, it's not a licensed product.
I'm talking more like the leaf cards where someone draws an
correct.
image. Yes,
Correct.
no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
If what really crosses line copyright wise is if you use someone else's image, and that's something I'm learning about now because I'm going to.
And trust me, I like all those, Corey. I've been talking with him about like maybe acquiring a couple of them for myself, because I got to be very careful with my personal collection, because I'm a player collector, as people know, and I don't want to deviate from that. I see the cool things that you guys get. You know, you guys are putting, sending me information like, oh, these are cool cards, man. I'd love to get that. But nope, can't do it, Tony. Can't buy it. Don't want to go down that hole. I don't.
It's a rabbit hole.
And so like I'm talking to Corey about doing his stuff, and he's got beautiful cards. I love those cards, but they're unofficial cards because he is using images that he doesn't own the rights to.
Correct. And I mentioned to you guys, I'm going to be working with the guys up here in Indie Federation to maybe get a set out for them. And what I'm learning early is that the guy that takes the picture is the guy that decides whether to use the image or not.
Sure.
There's a company up here called Chasing the Indies, and they're photographers, and they actually retain the rights. So it's sort of a handshake deal with them and the performers and everything else to make it happen so that no toes are stepped on.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is the reason why I did that is so that we could have these discussions. When something comes out like a Konami, that's unofficial. Joypad stuff we know is unofficial. Yeah. These last few I posted are unofficial, but we can have that discussion. Like, Chuck, what do you think about the Springfield? I put them as unofficial because I doubt they had the rights from The Simpsons. Certainly the Hasbro Figures cards, they're unofficial.
Yep.
But we'll have these discussions so that it's very clear to the hobby that, look, we're all in agreement about where these sort of stand in the spectrum.
Yeah, and it's important to do that, because what I don't want to be is someone that comes to like, hey, like I get messages from people saying, hey, what can I do? What do I need from you and your websites like that to send into PSA so I can make sure this gets authenticated and graded? And right, I go, that's not for me to say. All I do is I put the information there. I give as much information about it as possible, and it's up to PSA or Beckett or SGC, whoever, to go and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and slab this. It's their decision to make.
We just report that it's out there.
Correct.
We don't make a value judgment on it. I've spoken about this before. I've used the analogy of a crime reporter. He doesn't do the crime, doesn't condone the crime, but it's very important that he reports the statistics, because that's something that's of value.
Exactly. We've had conversations before of like, why entertain or give these people any shine who are putting out this unlicensed stuff like that? I go, because it exists. I have to put it out there because it exists.
Yeah, I own it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, can I get my hands on it? Remember, we had that conversation. Well, if I get these cards, what do you want me to do? And they came and they're great, and here they are.
Yeah, and so it's just now it's kind of our job to have these conversations and decide it's unofficial, obviously, or it's it's unofficial stuff, and put it where it belongs, and let the grading companies decide that.
Yeah, and that was one of the things on the list: the unofficial cards and also the independent cards. Just the proliferation of new product that we haven't seen in previous years. I mean, there's been indie sets over the years, but this year there was so many. Should I remember on Boxing Day or Black Friday, whatever it is you guys have done there, how many things were released? And by the end of the day, I was asking Chuck, do we have these? Do we not have these? Do I owe you for these? Do I not? Tally, like, I'm not sure where I am. I'll send Chuck something, and Chuck will say, yeah, I've got these in hand already, or no.
And I was trying to order 2 of everything so I could get one for you and one for me, because I knew they wouldn't ship up your way. One of our guys was asking about, when we were talking here about the indies, he said, so are you saying that the Wrestling All-Stars cards are bootleg?
Absolutely not. They were actually officially put out by whatever company it was at the time. You check the checklist site, check Paul's site, gives you the company name, and only through mail order subscriptions like that.
Enterprises. They were the guys behind the magazine, and they had the rights from the wrestlers to put out the cards, and so even though it wasn't a wide release set, it wasn't a tops or a Fleer a scaled set.
No. There's a lot of things of that level of mail-in orders or food issued kind of things that were all in conjunction, obviously through whatever company they were going through. So, but they all went through a company. The definition here of a bootleg stuff really in today's day and age is really simple. It's if I grabbed an image off of a still from a DVD, if I grabbed an image off of Google Images, anything that's actually owned by either WWE, AEW, whatever it may be,
photographer, whoever,
the photographer, whoever, it's and you don't have a licensing right for it. It's a bootleg set. It's unofficial. It doesn't. It's I'm not knocking the fact that it's what it is. It's just it is what it is. And if you want to collect it, great, collect it.
What it is, yeah.
Correct.
We're not oblivious or blind to the fact that someone's crossing a line.
Be happy to go out and get that full, the McMahon family autograph cards. I think they're beautiful looking. I mean, if I was collecting stuff, I'd want them for myself too. But we have to be clear that it's unofficial.
Yeah, and these
now,
guys
I had a set that I bought back in 2014, and it's from it's from Russia. It's one of those Russian sets that I bought off of Husker Halves.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful set. And I got to looking at those pictures that was on it at the time when I was starting to get them. And I thought, man, these pictures look awfully familiar. And at the time I went to the WWE website, and they used to have, I don't think it's still there, but they used to have a drop-down menu where you could click on a button and it would bring up their entire roster, be it legends, current stars. It was the exact same picture that was used on the WWE website, stuck on these cards from
those Russian ones, Chuck, are like the Indian ones. And the reason why I don't include the Russians and the Indians and a lot of the Mexican is because they're all bootlegger. They're all they've cheated on all those images. And I spoke about that in a couple of podcasts where we talked about the Indian cards, about the sort of status of the distribution and how they are. So I'm not including those as unofficial. Just take it on faith that anything Russian, anything Indian is
because oftentimes things that are from international stuff that outside of our North America distribution,
it's going to be unofficial. They don't have the rights.
It's either going to be unofficial, or the question becomes, and I think you brought this point up once before, Paul, where it's they're international stuff and their laws work a lot different than our laws. So we don't know if it's, do they have distribution rights? Like, hey, go ahead and make whatever you want. We don't care. Don't, kind of thing.
Well, distribution becomes different than manufacturing. You see.
Correct.
So you're dealing with legitimate distributors with legitimate and illegitimate products, some contraband, some not. And that's what ends up happening is that, hey, we have a need to fill here in this upper province for this WWE product. So let's make calendars, let's make cards, let's make mugs. And no one's doing any business with a WWE to sign a contract, but that's en masse over there. So that's a bit of a different world, Chuck. The Russians and the Indian cards, they're unofficial, but I'm not marking them as such. It's the ones that are made in guys' basements here, and then put out as trying to be legitimate. And we do have a lot of people in the hobby that make these things, and they're very clear about they're making cards. And that's a lot different than the guy that's going to put something on eBay as a Flair autograph. That's not, and
correct.
That's a whole different. And we do have a problem with that. What we don't want is we don't want people making custom cards, putting them up on eBay and trying to pawn them off to unsuspecting buyers and having people pay more than they should. Our job is to say, hey, you made a nice set. We like what you've done here, and this is what it is. I'll put a number to it. But a lot of times these custom sets don't have a lot of secondary value for that very reason. Yeah. Right. So, I might have to pay a lot more for these recent custom sets than what they're really worth, but I want them just to have them for the archive purposes, right? But
at the same token, you go right to the person who sold, said, you know what, I just want the images. I'll go print them myself.
You could do. Yeah, exactly.
You really could do that. I can just grab all these images and I can just Photoshop the hell out of them if I want to. I can even take all your McMahon ones right now if I want to and put autographs on them if you want.
Yeah. There's a company called Print My Trading Cards or something.
Yeah.
And they're meant to be like a Vistaprint, if you will. So it's dead easy. You upload your image, and you would think that a company like that that's doing business around the world would be more particular about copyright images.
Well, they would, because they're used in the when I got a C&D a couple years ago, not even a couple years ago, I got a C&D for doing the raw deal stuff. I was trying to be clever and offering the option as a service. I'll print these cards out for use like that. You're free to print them out yourself for no charge, as the way they were intended to be. But I'll go ahead and print them out as a service. It offended some people. People didn't like the fact that
you're making money on that image that you don't own.
Correct. Well, I offended some of the players out there who, showed me there was a website called makeplayingcards.com. And I was using them originally to go and print these cards out. And they didn't seem to really care about copyrighted stuff like that until someone pointed out, like, hey, So we got told by Make Playing Cards, you're not allowed to make these anymore. So we had already a backup plan to a backup plan to a backup plan. Funny thing is that Make Playing Cards outsources their printing to the same companies that the other places do. It's like that's we're still getting the same
so what's
place.
the difference there?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any issues. Nick's the one that turned me on to the printing company that he uses for the trading cards. And it was a great service. And he was very helpful in helping me get my Kevin Nash, card printed out. And once I got the hang of it, I was like, okay, great. So now I have a service I can go to. And they didn't even give me any real issues about any copyrighted stuff at all, even though I have all the rights to do what I was doing. So like that. So, I mean, it's just, it's easy to do.
You remember when I made those t-shirts where I had the few images?
Yeah, we had problems.
Yeah, they wouldn't print them. They wouldn't print them en masse because they knew full well that I didn't have the rights to that Hulk Hogan. I tried to explain those for a trading card that came out 40 years ago that doesn't exist anymore, so you wouldn't be able to track down the rights holder. And they're like, no, you can't take an image that's pre-existing of a celebrity and print it on a t-shirt, plain and simple, and that's what's happening with these custom cards. And some of these guys have gotten C&Ds before and continue to make them, but that's their business. Once they're out there, I'm going to grab them.
I like what Adrian's done now too. So he still, obviously that we've had conversation with him in the past on a couple episodes, and he's one who got a C&D for some stuff. But he continues to make great graphics like that, and he's not charging anybody for that stuff. He just puts it out there. And as a matter of fact, some of the talent goes, I want this, and some of the talent reached out to him, and they've turned them into trading cards for themselves because it's their image, and they're like, I don't care. I mean, it's my image. I'm going to print my own stuff like that. And now the talent is turned around. And even though that image might belong to someone else, it's still of them, but the image still belongs to somebody else of them.
It's the same way you got your Nash image.
Exactly.
You found that image that you really liked, and you went to Buddy that painted it, and you struck a deal. Then you went to Kevin. He really liked the image, and now you have all the pieces in place to put it together.
I got all the pieces in place for that, exactly. But so it's there's ways to get around that kind of stuff, obviously. But when you start making full card sets, and then you turn around and you're selling them for profit, that's where you're kind of just hoping to fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you keep doing it because like you're addicted to like making that stuff and you have a fun time doing it, and of course maybe you're like, hey, I'm making some money too. This is great. Eventually, you're going to just open yourself up to you're going to get a C&D eventually. And I think these guys just hope that's like, hey, just stop doing that, okay? Please stop doing that. But if you get the wrong persons like that, they're gonna like, you know what? I'm not gonna give you a slap on the wrist. We're coming after you. I don't know what your profits were, all your back orders. What do you have in inventory left? And we're suing you for that.
And the reason why we're talking about this so much is because there's going to be more of this, not less.
There's going to be much more of it.
As we go forward in 2022 with technology and with being what it is, and the number that we saw this year, I guarantee you there's going to be 2 to 3 times as many next year, and so on and so forth.
It's going to be a lot. And there's going to be that point where we have to worry about, not only because of the technology and having counterfeits. I'm more worried about the counterfeiting aspect of it because we're seeing more of it, especially the All-Stars. You're seeing the Hogan and the Andre and the Flair getting kind of reprinted. And so we have that. We're going to start seeing other cards, I think, across the board getting done as well. These independent card sets are prime and ripe for being duplicated because there's not a whole lot of tricks to them. They're very, I shouldn't say simple, but they're going to be easier to make as far as card stock goes because these card companies, people making these cards are kind of in the same realm as people making bootleg kind of cards in that printing process. It's different getting something from Topps or from Upper Deck or Panini because they use a special kind of cardboard. Use a special. It's kind of easier to tell it's legit versus not. And so we got going forward in the independent ones. And I love that the independent guys out there. I got an interview coming out with a MAW guy, promoter, talking about why he put out his first little 7-card set. He'll be doing more of them. The process, because he was new to all the trading card stuff, everything. But we're going to see more people putting out more independents. And with more independents, I'm waiting for the day where I start seeing some bootleg, possibly counterfeit MJFs and, Darby Allens and Brett Bakers, because those card qualities weren't the best card quality to begin with. So it shouldn't be too hard to duplicate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we got to figure out how we're going to keep track of that. I mean, we've already got like, in here, I've got this box I'm taking today to go get Hammerstone signed. Supposedly there was only 200 of these signed. I've got 199 of the 200 in this box. Chuckster's got one. Somebody else out there's got a couple more. I mean, so there's more than 200 that the print run says. Yeah. It's difficult to keep track. And as people gathering information and keeping track of this information, we can only go by what the production, what we're told from both the printer and or the promoter and or the, whoever distributed these things. I can't, how am I to question what, what they put out? So
And
everything
one
is,
thing on these, when you get on these independent cards too, a lot of them, you can pretty well, I mean, again, you got to take it at face value as to how many was really put out, but a lot of these independent sets only going to put out 150 sets to 300 sets. And that's a really low print run in the grand
Sure.
scheme of things. And those things are really shooting up in value. Now, if you get them when they first come out, you're in good shape. But if you let them be out on the market for a month, you're going to pay, you're going to lose your back teeth paying for these things, especially the GCW stuff. I mean, that stuff is beautiful. I love it.
The bolas
And,
as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the
funny
bolas, yeah, the
sets,
bolas
same
are
thing.
unbelievable.
well,
The bolas, you can't get a set of them for what, $200-300 per set these days.
Xan and I
Yeah.
we just did a Worlds Collide podcast, and I'm not going to give it all away yet, but we talked about indie cards, and I don't know when that episode's going to drop, but we talked about, and we did the top 5 as of the time of the recordings like that. And you know, the highest card was like $415 for a set. Was a set. So we kept the independent stuff. We determined not only individual cards, but set was included for the highest price. And of that, I think 3 of the 5 were sets, and the other 2 were actual individual cards, I think, or vice versa kind of thing. So it was just, it's incredible to see what the prices are going up on some of these independent ones. And again, this is part of people speculating who's gonna be the next big star. Get on the ground floor, you know, and all these little small independent ones. And it's just the explosion is huge. Let's just put it that way. I mean, without
I
you
love
guys,
those early cards I have of MJF and Darby Allin, all them in some of those early indie sets. And the ones I thought I had was kind of a first card. I'm now finding I was wrong, that there's those limitless sets cards out of those guys that I had completely overlooked. You know, but the Jim Lynam sets, they have beautiful first cards of that, or what I thought at the time was first cards of those.
you know,
But
of all the indie checklists that I, you know, once I put a checklist together and I have a sample image to show, because I don't like to promote without a sample image. I hate that no image available crap. When I put all the independent ones, nothing got more of a response than those limitless ones. Those are the ones everybody kind of went like, thank God. Oh, finally, you know, that kind of stuff was like, that got the biggest.
It's been hard to put that checklist together because it's not been clear as to what they were. And I think Matt Dalalakis is going to give you the information, Chuck, so that we can get that all straight.
Yeah, we've got it. We pretty well got it.
We got that one. I got mine from, I think Caleb sent me the information on that one because he put together a spreadsheet of them. I have a spreadsheet of all 3 sets put together. And that's what he sent me.
It's complete. It's got everything up to date.
Got everything in it. Everything in
Yeah,
it.
because I know that the price guide is not complete. So I'll have to go back and see what you guys have uncovered.
So those are all.
I did my limit list like a year ago, and so many of them have been found since.
Yeah. So as far as I know, it's complete as complete can be.
So let's carry on with our list of news, big news on the year. One of the biggest news stories I put, which was my number 5 of the year, was that new WCW autos are uncovered, and the overall popularity of those autograph sets has increased. We did videos on that. Had many chats as we were finding Enos, and as we were.
It seemed like every month that we did an update, as far as we had another discussion about another card that found from that those releases, or you know, continuing with new highs and record sales, or a story about something that always involved the WCW autograph cards.
Yeah, they were the set, and shout out to obviously Wes Moore for finally completing. You know, the whole hobby was you know, I think the whole world was looking for a Van Hammer.
And Jamie's been pretty.
Jamie Wallace is now the undisputed king of the WC autographs because he's got 107 to my 106. And I knew when we first met, Tony, and I told you that my biggest regret in wrestling cards was not buying the Sandman, the Hardcore Hack. Well, that's the one difference. You know, that's the number 107 that Jamie, having gotten the Rey Mysterio, and I knew he would. As soon as Jamie got hold of that Sandman, I said, oh, it's only a matter of time before he finds a Rey. But long before I'm going to get an Enos or I'm going to get a Hardcore, he's going to find a Mysterio. So congratulations to Jamie on that. Fantastic accomplishment that he was able to put that together.
I love watching his journey. He's been posting on social media and watching his journey as he's acquiring things, and finding him from a collector standpoint, and the mindset that he took, and like, listen, I got to part with some things that I love to kind of fuel this new hobby that I'm doing. It's like that. So sometimes the figures are being sold. He got dupes of certain things. Sometimes it might have not even been, it wasn't even wrestling related stuff that he was probably selling to try to fuel and basically level up to that to the cards that he needed to finish that collection. And just a fun journey to watch him to go
For both
on.
those guys, I mean, even Wes, I mean, these guys were collecting them basically hot and heavy for the last year and a half. Remember, that took me like 18 years, right? Seriously, that's why, like, I appreciate what, you know, the chase of it and the money these guys spent. It couldn't have been inexpensive to put this all together.
That's a set that I never did get together with the autographs on those. I have a total of one. And I had bought 2 boxes of them when they first come out. And I opened 2 boxes. I got 1 autograph out of it. That's the only way I got it. It's really not a high-end autograph, but I mean, I can say I have one.
It could be anybody, man. We have Lash LaRue would go for at least $100.
Yeah. So that was an interesting time when we found out about the Booker T, and we were talking about the British Bulldog, and then obviously Charles Robinson made available the Steve McMichael that Jamie and I were able to get hold of. And
I enjoyed talking to the gentleman who actually had make the Mike Enos a card available. So like that was a fun little chat with him for an episode.
Yeah,
on WTCtv.
well, I came in second, I recall, on that auction.
And it was so it just you know, going forward, you think we're going to find more?
No.
You don't think we're going to find any more cards?
No, I think we've uncovered the universe. The question is will Jamie or Wes and I actually get hold of a Bulldog
we thought this 10, 15 years ago too.
Yeah, we thought this 12 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And then all this stuff came out. But I would think now we've made such a big splash and noise about them that anybody anywhere that knows anything about these cards will have uncovered
but
something.
That's what I think, where we might find
Mike
one or two more.
It's quick enough, like when he realized that, hey, this isn't represented, you know.
I think that's why we might even find 1 or 2 more down the road, because not everybody follows our circle, you know, obviously. And someone's got something sitting in their binder somewhere going, I thought everybody had this. I didn't know I was the only one who had it.
Hey, that's how I got my Panini set. Seriously.
That's exactly how what's his name found out about the Enos cards like that. He didn't know. I was like, I just thought everybody had this card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? I mean, it's that autograph set that just, like we said, keeps on giving, man.
Yeah. So my number 8 thing, and this is another shout out to you and Zan, was the first ever wrestling virtual con is held online. Great success for many collectors. And I'll tell you why that was significant. Zan was talking about this for quite some time, about wanting to do something, and then you guys put it together, and you put it together in such a way that was entertaining, and the Card Foundation guys on there, and you made it an event, and we're already talking that when are you guys going to do the next one? And these little things that start small are what turn into WrestleManias 10 years down the line. So I want to once again congratulate you guys for getting that off the ground.
Thanks.
And it was significant, I think, to the hobby that this was the first time that we actually had a weekend where we could all. I didn't buy anything. I don't know, Chuck. I think you might have. Chuck, you got a few pieces from that.
I was so glad to have that, because I actually completed a set that I got the huge Impact.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, you got the Kevin Nash.
I got the Kevin Nash
the big one,
pack, the large one, yes. Yeah. And I completed my gold set of Series 1, the gold insert set that comes with it. I completed that, so I was really tickled with everything I got on there. That was just, I couldn't believe that I actually found something I needed on there. That was amazing.
Yeah, if we could put something up, we could put some kind of an event like that where we find where maybe even a Paul or a Chuckster doesn't have something.
I didn't have that Nash either. I wasn't aware of the larger ones. That was the first time I was seeing them as well. So I was glad.
I will be happy to take care of you on that, sir, because I have a few of them coming.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have a few of them coming. I made a trade deal for something for them. So yeah, that was a fun thing to do. When Zan first approached me on that, we had actually talked about it privately a couple of times, and then we weren't sure how we were going to do it. I don't know. I was nervous about it. I had done something similar for a thing called Top Rope Virtual Con with a partner of mine out of Florida. We did these virtual meet and greets because, you know, as everybody knows, my main bread and butter has always been the booking business, working with talent for conventions. And with, you know, the pandemic, that kind of shut me down for the last almost 2 years now. So I've been kind of hurt there. And we decided that, hey, let's try this virtual stuff, the virtual cons, and try to do that. And we did them not to any level of success at all. But as a side note, I do have, I am producing and I'm now in the promoting business for the first time. September 17th of 2022, we'll be doing Top Rope Wrestling Con. It'll be a live show in Tampa, Florida. We've already got a website built up. We've got some talent I've already agreed to commit. So we'll actually have some live events. And I proposed the idea to my partner on it, saying, I want to do trading cards of that event, specifically for that event with the talent that we have at that event, and make them exclusive to that show.
Nice.
So we have a lot of things we're moving forward. And that's kind of like an announcement to kind of make right there. But you know, a
You and I
lot
are
of
still waiting on a phone call. That could be something very significant.
yes, exactly that as well too. So putting together this virtual con thing made me nervous about doing it. And you know, Zan was like, hey, you know, I think we can do this. We can pull it off like that. And I had to host it on my end because of the service that I have for the Zoom sessions. It's a paid service that I pay on my end. Is having to park people in rooms, special private rooms like that, and getting them on during their 15-minute time frame, and having someone go and kind of monitor, you know, who's
Coordinated
doing what.
very well.
Yeah, and it
was
just
very seamless, and it was nice just seeing like Kayla would come on and do a few cards, and then Joy
it was
Pye would come
great.
on and do a few cards, and it was well sequenced.
At the end of the first night, you know, obviously we stopped recording. We talked like, hey, we did this. You know, it actually went through. I can't believe we made it happen like that. And then so yeah, people talked about it and they wanted to do it. It's one of the highest rated, you know, views that we have of our and so will we do another one? Probably. When? Don't know. Don't want to make a habit of it.
No, it's the kind of thing that would work very well once or twice a year, I think. And
I think you're right.
I think we collectors appreciated it. So it was significant on the year for me when I was sort of thinking, okay, what else happened this year that happened? And that sort of ties into the next thing I put is the rise of wrestling card content on Twitter, YouTube podcasts. The Card Foundation guys, Scott started this year. You and Zan started the Worlds Collide podcast. You did the After Dark with some of the funnier stuff, you know. And this was all, I remember talking to you at the beginning of the year saying, Tony, are we overdoing it? Are we putting out too much content? Are we going to overload people and sort of shoot ourselves in the foot? And you said, no, I don't think so, Paul. I think it's good that we put as much out there to try and sort of troll as many new collectors as possible. And that seems to be working. Card Foundation guys are bringing new guys into the hobby. And there is a little bit of overlap in what we chat about, but still, it's all good because we're all friendly with each other. You guys have
well, we've had this conversation before, you know, privately. I know Zan and I, it's like there's and others too. It's like there's no competition here. You know, we're all putting out content. We all have our unique perspective on the hobby and how we do things, and a little bit of a twist kind of thing. You know, but starting out in the beginning, it was, you know, I discovered Zan. He was the only guy I saw that was putting out any content with wrestling cards. And then I started doing the one because I just, as I've mentioned many times before, just to, you know, do something during the pandemic and get over some fears and stuff like that.
Almost by accident, you know?
Yeah, and see if there's any interest in doing it. And all of a sudden, after that first episode, it's like, are you bringing WTC back? Is it happening? Are you bringing it? And it's like, okay, well, now, as David Porto said, you know, we lit a fire in our ass. Now we have to kind of do something about it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I
here
remember
we are.
after those videos, I'm like, hey, Tony, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
And you're like, you want to come on? I'm like, sure. And then you had Peck on and it started. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to mushroom. And it was being done as the pandemic was going on and prices were going up. And that's another thing I mentioned is one of the big stories of the year. And in fact, it was probably my number 3 story is that after the huge rise of wrestling cards during the pandemic, prices settled, but at a much higher level than before COVID. And it's important for collectors to realize that the wrestling card hobby, price-wise, and we do this monthly when we look at our index and stuff like that, is at a much higher footing than it was, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A year ago, we might have seen some real crazy numbers just because people with big bucks stuck inside. But where we land is a pretty good space. You know, like it certainly costs more to be in the hobby today, which speaks to the popularity of it and the amount of people of it. So,
yeah, I'm going to circle back to your social media stuff right now. By the way, we seem to have a lot more, a bigger explosion of on social media. So Twitter seems to be the place to go to when it comes to wrestling cards, pretty much. We have a Discord channel now that's dedicated to just wrestling cards, which blew my mind at the time that we didn't have a dedicated channel. I mean, there were sub channels within sports channels that sometimes talked about wrestling cards, but there wasn't a dedicated channel to talk only wrestling cards. So that was a no-brainer to create that. And it became the new message boards because let's be honest, the old WTC message board
of your old forums, right?
was just, it was dead in the water. I mean, outside of Chuckster checking once in a while, probably. And I think Kenny Oz, have him check every once in a while.
Chuck ran the forum basically for you for about 5 years.
Yeah, pretty much. He pretty much ran it. I mean, he was the only one putting anything up there.
And Tony made a point the other day. I've been the only guest so far on all 3, like the little trifecta of shows of Tony's show, Zan's show, and the one that they do together, the Worlds Collide. I've made appearances on all 3 of them.
I haven't been on the Worlds Collide yet, so I'll have to take a number for that.
We'll get you on our roundtable sessions like that, absolutely, because I kind of stopped doing those for this channel and put them on the other one. So, but yeah, I mean, Having the Card Foundation guys on the virtual con thing was a nice surprise to have them on, because we wanted to show people that, listen, there isn't like it's them versus us and us versus such and such. It's a market out there to express and to show and to educate people and to just get some interest in the hobby and spread the news about the hobby. Some people have their areas of expertise in modern stuff. Some have indie specialists, some are vintage, some have a specific set mindset of just this particular set is what I specialize in. So it's important to get all those people out there to talk about this stuff, to educate those who aren't so familiar with that kind of those releases. So
you have helped boost another podcast into the wrestling card world, because they've only got about 2 or 3 wrestling issues out now, but that was the 5 Tool show you did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I decided
they weren't into it. Yeah, no. Now they're going whole hog on wrestling.
So I just kind of reached out a little bit, because I had to break outside the norm, because looking for some feedback on the products like that. I mean, you can get there's a frustration level. So let me get into this little realm here for a second, and I'll go move on. There's a little bit of a frustration level when it comes to when you're putting out content and it's not getting the engagement that you're kind of hoping for. And so maybe you put out something that you're kind of proud of, a nice conversation that Paul and I will have on our monthly thing, whatever. And that seems to get the most engagement from people, which I appreciate and I like. I appreciate all the comments and suggestions. But you put out something and you're like, listen, I've got over 1,300 followers and I've only got 0 comments and 2 likes. Why is that? You got to figure out what is it about. And it can kind of frustrate you and set you back. Like, why am I doing it then? Why am I putting anything out if no one really wants to engage, comment, suggest, complain, whatever? You're not getting the kind of response you're kind of hoping for. But I just keep plugging away anyways. I don't care. I'm putting it out there. It's information out there. So I thought about, what can I do outside of our bubble? We have a bubble of communicate. We have Paul, we have Chuckster, we have Zan. We have Card Foundation guys now. What can we do?
Don't forget Stacking Slabs. Don't forget
and Stacking Slabs. I mean, but he's a sports-minded kind of guy that also now delves in wrestling too, which is great. And I love his stuff. It's like, what can you do to get outside? It's like, why should I be not afraid to go out and reach out and say, hey, if you want to talk about wrestling, I'd be happy to be a guest in your show. And that's how the 5 Tools thing became about. I reached out to them and that particular podcast Twitter handle had like 200 or something followers. That was it. And I said, I don't care. But their other one had like 19,000 followers.
Right.
And so I said, okay. And I went on there. They said, we'd love to talk about wrestling cards. And that kind of just sparked their interest in doing wrestling stuff.
And both those shows were really good. The one with you and Chuck were very detailed. So there's a lot of information.
And they talked with Peck too. He was their second guest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hey, anytime I can get a 1-up on Peck for, interviews like that, I'll take that. But it's just, getting out there and spreading that news and getting people who are like, we like wrestling. Hell, why not get into wrestling cards? And now those guys are kind of gung ho on the wrestling card stuff now, which is great. Love it. But anybody else, I mean, I got some special guests coming up here that are outside the norm of people that I'm kind of hoping, jumps it to the next level. Let's get to the.
Okay, we should never be worried about, one video to the next gets this many views and then this one gets more and they make more and we make less. We're doing this, 1, for fun, and 2, to educate, but mostly for fun. We're enjoying
but
right?
There's a fine line.
It's a blast to hang with you guys and talk, and then to talk about these things, because for years and years and years I was up here by myself with my cards. So now I'm part of this world and this community, and
oh, very much so. And it's just
I'm very close with you and Chuck, and it's important to me, and it's that's why we do it. Like I said this to you, I remember once we were having that conversation in the morning. It's like, you know what, man, just do what feels right to you, because people do appreciate it. If I haven't said it enough, I think I have, about what you and Zen have done for the community. It's fantastic. It really is. And it's appreciated, so even if one guy appreciates it, that ought to be enough for you. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, a whole lot more do than that.
I know. And it's just, it's obviously clearly a labor of love. Clearly, we know that. However, people don't forget that time has evolved. Is a factor in this. And so when you have a lot of time being put into it, you know, we have lives, you know, how much can my wife tolerate me doing stuff like this for making no money and making nothing out of it? Like, how much can I deviate from doing my own convention? And then I have a convention that I help run in Alaska. And then I have my booking business, and I have a store that I'm opening up here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I have a lot of things like that I have to take away from in order to do this kind of stuff. And it can be a little, you know, it can wear you down a little bit like that. So
No, I know the hobby does take up a lot of time. Like I own 2 companies, and I have a band, 2 bands, in fact. And then there's wrestling cards, but I probably spent more time on wrestling cards than anything else this year, you know, because I like it, you know, and I really like engaging with Chuck. You know, it's always a pleasure to get an email from Chuck and what are you into and good morning, how's it's, you know, it's just cool. And Anthony and I become very close as well. We become very good friends just through the hobby, you know. I haven't bought a ton of stuff from him over the years, but I've known him just like we knew each other for years. So that when we finally got together here, it was not like this is the first time we're hanging out, you know?
yeah.
And it's
That's
the thing
true.
that binds us. I want to mention, and maybe, you know, the passing again of Chef Carl, who died this year. And this is a gentleman that none of us knew personally,
Nope.
but we were all affected by his passing because he and I had one very major thing in common, like I have with you, like I have with Chuck. You know what I mean? And that's what binds us, and that's what everyone that's watching this, like anyone that's going to be, however long we've been talking now, an hour and a half, still watching, it's because they love the hobby, not us, you know, but they really dig wrestling cards, and we're here to.
I don't know. I think they like Chuckster a lot. They love the slam dancer over
Chuckster
there.
maybe, not
Yeah.
you and I though.
Yeah. He's the more fun-loving guy that everybody seems to like. And so, and look, I'm going to end up being his booking agent because he's being invited on so many different shows now.
Yeah. I'm just so happy to see it happen.
I'm gonna book him at Steel City
If there's
Con and have a
anybody in this
table.
hobby that deserves it, it's the.
Do I have to learn how to slam dance before I go?
Yeah.
No, I think we will forever make it a mystery, make it a very long storyline. It's somewhere down the road. Yes, you'll have to learn though.
There's one more thing, guys, on the list we actually covered. I'll just go through them, and then Panini gets the license, Upper Deck and AEW, the boom of wrestling cards, critical mass of the indies, WCW autographs, McMahon's Superfractor, Virtual Con, Twitter, and WTC. But the last thing was the rock sticker, which was
and this ties in perfectly well, by the way, for your huge rise during the pandemic. I want to tie those two together just like that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, if you recall, some rock Panini stickers were found in the Middle East or wherever it was. I should let you guys talk because this really didn't. I didn't get involved in any of this. I was just sort of observing it from the sidelines.
Well, I mean, allegedly these, well, not allegedly, these 95 Panini sticker boxes and cases were discovered, I think, mainly out of Egypt. I think originally, I think where they came from, and I think Rob England discovered those, grabbed some as soon as he got them and started kind of tweeting about it. Everybody else started gravitating towards that. He managed to pull a rock sticker that got a PSA 10 out of it, sent it off to, was it Golden or Heritage? I think it was. I can't remember which one it was. He sent it to one of the auction houses that got mad money. I mean, it went for 33,000 plus, you know, plus a buyer's premium. So it was like 3,600 or something, like 33 or 36,000, I think it was. Now that was a huge amount, obviously. But as we tied into our other conversation about the huge rise in price like that, and a new floor has been established. So the market kind of came back down to more normal levels. But yes. I mean, there's been several other PSA 10s of that card that haven't gotten even half that price.
Correct. But the fact that happened, the fact that from nowhere, all of a sudden we had something in our hands that was all of a sudden replacing the yellow game card as being the Rock Rookie, even though it was a sticker. Yep. And I was like the first guy saying, hang on, it's a sticker. But that didn't seem to matter. All of a sudden, stickers were cards. And I thought, okay, I've got to take a step back here before I say something that's
hey, well, according to you now, calendars are cards.
According to me, yeah. wait till I start pricing lunchboxes, guys.
You're gonna have to change your domain name.
Yeah, WCPG, Wrestling Collectibles price, guys.
There you go. See, go buy it now. Better hurry up.
Anything's possible, guys.
I mean, whatever fuels the hobby, I don't care. Whatever fuels the hobby, I'm happy with it. So, but you know, I'm staying in my lane. You can go ahead and jump in different lanes.
Well, I don't have thumb wrestling.
Yeah, there you go. It's a trading card though, at least.
It is. Yeah, it's a you know what though? Anthony has the calendar. Anthony has always had that calendar on his site.
I think I might have that counter laying around in storage somewhere.
Yeah, and
I'm not actually. I don't think I have the calendar as a whole. I think I have a piece of the calendar somewhere.
I got that calendar and the FCW one with like probably 16 autographs in it. dirt cheap. It was unbelievable how inexpensive they were. I'm like, really?
I'm pretty sure I got mine as most of the stuff back in the day when I was buying out collections. I just got in a giant lot that I got. It's so funny by thinking back about those times when really being a dealer in wrestling cards, which was my forte, which is wrestling cards, period. You know, I dabbled in other stuff going, oh, you know, 18 to 35-year-old demographic. I'll do porn cards too. That's the same demographic. I started doing golf and some tennis, and it never ever worked like wrestling did. But, you know, buying out collections and finding things like, oh my God, it's like there's a whole bunch of WWF pogs in this thing, you know, or there's a whole bunch of like, you know, calendar stuff. There's a whole bunch of like postcards. There's like doorknobs, you know, knocker things. I mean, there's all kinds of weird things, flip through books. I'd find all kinds of stuff, you know.
There is so much to collect out there.
Yep.
Past figures and trading cards for wrestling that it's unbelievable. And, you know, towels and stuff that, you know, like the All-Stars calendar is of interest because of the All-Stars cards. If we didn't have such a fuss in our hobby about those cards, and no one would care about that calendar. But because of that, it's something that people are like, oh, this is nifty. A lot of people
it shines a light on what could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. I think there's actually some pictures on that calendar too that wasn't released on the cards, wasn't there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that calendar was something for a potential for future set. I think it was, right. It wasn't about what wasn't released before, about what was supposed to come out.
I honestly don't know that much about it, other than the fact that I couldn't believe it was.
We should talk to that's some of the information you probably want to check up with Peck. I'm sure he can probably fill you on that.
David would know.
He would definitely know that kind of stuff.
So that's it, guys. We covered the top 10, and at the outset, I said I was going to spring a surprise on you, and I was going to ask you, and perhaps anybody out there that watches this video, they can sort of, when this gets posted, they can sort of chime in with their opinion on this. But I wanted to ask you guys, for 2021, who was your favorite wrestler of the year? Maybe you can give me two. Who was your favorite, and maybe a runner-up?
Go for it, Chuckster.
You really dropped one on me. That was too quick. There's too many out there to choose one or two.
I already know. I know one. I know one on Chuckster's list already.
Can I give you three?
Sure.
Sure.
I know one.
MJF.
Yep.
Thunder Rosa.
I knew that one.
Who's the third?
Sammy Guevara.
Wow, all AEW guys, huh?
All AEW. I
Nice.
cannot find one exciting thing right now these days in WWE. I could possibly go, if I had to choose a WWE guy, it would probably be Riddle.
Right,
But
you like him.
but I'm just so deep into the AEW rabbit hole right now that every one of these guys are just talent waiting to. Well, MJF is like Macho Man used to say, cream always rises to the top. You know, MJF's the cream right there. You know, he's just one of the best heels I have seen come along in wrestling in years. He's just been amazing. This has been his breakout year as far as I'm concerned. And Thunder Rosa, she left the what was it, the NWA, and I think Tony Khan bought out her contract, because I think she was supposed to go till the end of this year, and he bought out her contract so she could be full time in AEW. So and I'm really tickled. The stuff she does with the stuff she did with Britt Baker this past summer was just amazing. She's just so talented, and and Sammy, he's getting that rub from Chris Jericho, you know, at the Inner Circle, and he's just to watch him flip around the ring and then watch his athleticism. It's just amazing. I really like those three. Those are probably my top three.
Nice. I'll go next, because one of mine ties into one of yours, and it's an interesting discussion because, you know, like Kenny held 3 titles at one point. Roman's been indestructible for the last year. I don't think there's better technical wrestlers than Daniel Bryan and say AJ Styles still, but my runner-up, and this might tie into cards and social media, but my runner-up on the year is a guy that I haven't even seen wrestle a lot, but this guy's just been everywhere. Anytime I go on Twitter, anytime I go on Facebook, he's kind of like Snoop Dogg. I don't think Snoop Dogg's.
I know who he is.
My number 2 guy is Danhausen.
I knew it.
Everywhere Hausen. And Merry Christmas Hausen to all the wrestling collector Hausens. That guy has got a future. And I actually saw something that said that who are the top potential guys that might turn up on AEW. And obviously they talked about Bray Wyatt and they talked about Braun Strowman, but the third guy wasn't the Briscoe brothers. The third guy was Danhausen. And I'm like, yeah, that guy has got a profile and he's doing something right to put himself out there. So I just think that I didn't know what a Danhausen was at the beginning of the year, and now I can't turn around with smacking into a Danhausen. So he's my number 2.
And his
And
videos
my-
are hilarious. If you've checked out any of his YouTube videos, they're hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. And my number 1 is 100% agreement with my brother, Charles Davy. MJF is the greatest wrestler that I've seen in a long, long time. And again, a year ago, I was aware of who he was, but he's the one guy that really cut through to me. I think that he is the best heel in the business. When he did the segment with the ballroom dancing, I thought, man, this guy is a real entertainer. And his promos are kick-ass. There's just everything about that guy, right down to his mother and father calling him an asshole on a sign. Is right. So I'm right there with you, Chuck. My number 1 wrestler of the year is MJF. Tony?
I don't watch wrestling, so
Oh, you're really the core.
I don't really have anybody. I mean, I don't have anybody. I mean, my wrestler is always going to be Kurt Angle. So that's always my guy. He doesn't wrestle anymore, but as a player collector, that's who I go with. And I guess I always have to go with my 2 player collecting. I'm going to go Dexter Loomis and Kurt Angle. That's what I collect. And just for pure self-interest. I just I make the joke that that my wife says, "Oh, she sees a picture of Dexter Loomis, goes, you're in the Nazis now, huh?" And I go, well, no, but
I'd love to hear what other people in the hobby have to say about this one.
Yeah, I want to know people's. I'd love to hear people in the comments of this. We'll repurpose this for a January 1st release too as well, so people can go and really comment on this. But even on this one, just go ahead and comment. Let us know what your top 2 guys are. I'd love to hear about it, and if you want to put why. I want to hear why. Me, I'm still a fan of wrestling. I just don't have the time to watch wrestling, and I haven't for many years actually. I treat it like I do most of my sports stuff. I just treat it like Sports Center. Twitter is my Sports Center. I get all the highlights. I watch the clips, the 30-second clips, the 2-minute clips. I follow all that stuff, so I kind of at least keep myself somewhat current on what's going on. But if I had to say without watching, and someone hasn't watched, I have to say, who would be, my MVPs of the year, I'd have to go with MJF just based on everything I've seen, all the clips I've watched like that. Anybody who's going to be an MVP for me is going to probably be in the AEW bracket, because it's just, everybody's taken to the next level there. It's just, it's a whole different beast. If I had to pick a WWE person, I'd probably go with a Roman Reigns, just because the guy's been carrying that title on his back for so long. Just indestructible force he's over there. They're writing him the right way right now, finally, I think. So it's what people wanted, and they're getting it. And I don't think he'd be where he's at without a Paul Heyman though either. So Paul Heyman's really taken him to a different level. But again, I'm not a fan of the product per se. I don't really watch. I just listen and kind of on the outside.
I'd like to see a promo between MJF and Dan Lambert.
Yeah, that'd be good.
give me 20 minutes of that, and that will be the
Dan Lambert, so he's very good too.
Yeah, I don't know who gets more heel heat and who gets booed more. And it's not go away boo. It's just like, I really hate you because you really make me mad. It's
which is a good heel.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good heel. Do we have any questions to go over from people who are watching?
Let me look here and see. No, I had one gentleman ask about how to find the Discord channel. I think that's an app, isn't it, that we download?
Well, the Discord channel's already there. He joined. I saw that he joined.
Oh, okay.
I just now waved hi to him there. So I also put a link in the Discord channel. Probably could have promoted this a little bit better as far as going live on a different social media. I didn't put this on Facebook at all. But
it's weird time. It's Sunday, like our time, noon, right? So a lot of people are busy. Christmas is next week, so people are busy at this time.
It's what I expect. I expected that. So we'll repurpose this, like I said, later for those who missed it, and I'll put it up there. But it's again, definitely been a crazy year. What we didn't really talk about then too is going forward. What do we expect more going in 2022 as a general whole? We expect more craziness. Do you think it's going to be some more controversy, more hidden gems?
Well, we're not gonna have the groundbreaking news of the Topps license being taken away and WWE signing with Panini. We're not gonna have AEW signing with someone else. So we're in a lane now with AEW and with WWE. There's going to be more custom cards. There's going to be more independent product, and there's going to be more content. There's going to be all sorts of this stuff going on. Husker Half site is going to be finished soon. You're going to be getting your images up and doing more with WTC. Who knows what I'm going to be doing with the price guide, but I'm sure something. And
but we also, let's be clear, we also do have potentially some surprises and announcements coming up for ourselves to help the hobby.
Yes,
more mainstream.
We're waiting on a phone call now that can be something very cool for us and the hobby next year, and just continue to do it. What I wanted to do before we sign off is just give some shout outs to people, everyone in the hobby, people that we communicate on Twitter. I want to wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, if you're still allowed to say that. I don't know.
Yep. Yes, you are.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody for tweeting their cards. Thanks to Matt Dalalakis for tweeting out some great food. Every time he puts out a great food, I get hungry. Obviously, we should mention David and Rob, our vintage guys. They do so much for the hobby. And once again, you and Zan. And the Card Foundation guys, you guys that are putting out constant content, it's appreciated, and just keep it up. Just keep doing more, and we'll build this hobby one card, one person at a time.
Yep, we sure will.
Yeah, I think this year's been a pretty up and down year. There's been some really high spots and a few low spots. I think the rise of the indie cards have been amazing. I think we're going to see more of that in the new year, because everybody's starting to kind of jump on the bandwagon now. Like you said a little bit ago, on Thanksgiving weekend, there were 6 or 7 different sets being released on the same day of the indie thing. My bank card got burned up from buying, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming year. I don't think we're going to see as many releases. I think AEW maybe has planned 2 releases for next year, according to a podcast I listened to the other day with 2 of the guys that are putting them out. And we'll just have to see what Panini does. We know we got at least one coming out. I just hope I know the more cards there is to collect, the funner it is, but I really hope they space them out. I hope they don't put like one set out a month. That was just getting a little overwhelming. And even for somebody that likes to collect, it was getting too much. So, I want time to put a set together and tinker around with a little bit, buy a piece here and buy a piece there, and get a set together before the next one hops on the market. And then I have to go back and forget that one for a little bit and start on the new one before all that stuff gets sucked up. But I think we're going to see the hobby really take off again in 2022, because we just got so much good stuff on the horizon.
Agreed. Yeah. I agree with all that. All that stuff is I agree with. I think it'd be nice to have a little bit more spacing between releases, of course. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll Paul and I will continue to keep doing our monthly. There's been some talk about scaling back some of this content a little bit, just because it's a little overwhelming between both from Zan and I's perspective. He's got his, I've got my channel, we have our joint channel. Sometimes a little bit too much crossover, maybe. There's enough content out there. I think that when we started doing this stuff in late 2020, it just became like, let's see what happens. And here we are over a year later, and we're doing a lot of episodes and cross promoting and getting people in there, making Chuckster famous like he should be. Just doing a lot of stuff, and just I didn't know what was going to happen with WTC. So it is where it's at now. I never thought it was ever going to get to where it is again right now. It's nice that having the longevity that it's had. The algorithms haven't really changed much in the keywords and key phrases that I've used for that site. So it always ranked on the first page of Google searches. Could say now it's still number 1 when you search for wrestling trading cards. It's number 1 outside of any potential eBay or Amazon ad. So it's nice to be there. It wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for you guys, Chuckster, Paul, Armand, anybody who's ever supplied information, images, full checklist. I don't have time to do it myself, and it just can't be done without having a good team. I think we have the best team around possible for this hobby. it just can't get any better. The team can't get any better. So I'm very thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for everybody who listens to me babble on and on and on, because I can talk forever. Just the hobby as a whole has been great. It's been great welcoming WTC back. And I'll talk to you guys a little bit after we get done recording. I have some other news to talk to you about, but it's nice to be back doing what we do. I get a great big thrill. I think I mentioned, like, when we get the first checklist, the PWG we put out there, I was so thrilled about that. I was thrilled about getting that first message. I'm thrilled about like being where we're at now and going, like, a new release gets put out and then bam, we got it up there right away. It's like that. I go, this is old school days, man. This is old school prime WTC days, when it's like something gets announced, boom, it's on the site like right away. And it's just, it's fun to get that out there. And it's a big thrill for me to have information putting out there and learning new things. I'm not in a position anymore where I get like upset about where, we got to be first. We're going to be the best. It's just about getting the thrill of like getting information now and going like, great. Didn't know that existed. Didn't know that was a problem. Didn't know it was an issue, and getting it fixed. So it's just fun. And I hope to continue to keep doing that in the new year. There's some plans. There's some big plans, as we know privately, there's, in addition to some announcements, hopefully, but also, other cool little things we might put out there for the community. And, so Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays to everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode where we recap the whole year. Hope you'll be back again next year. Talk about the same thing again, some more wrestling cards and more exciting news. We got a lot of stuff coming out, I'm sure, and discuss it all. And so let's everybody's plug. Chuckster, not that everybody doesn't already know where to find you, but where can they find you?
Chuckster on Twitter.
That's right. What about you, Mr. Price Guide?
Mr. Price Guide, Paul Anand, thewrestlingcardpriceguide.com. And on Twitter, it's, card_guide. I have an Insta page, Paul at Plex, but I don't do much there. I don't post. And I also am on Facebook too, but I use Facebook for music. I use LinkedIn for business, and I use Twitter for wrestling cards. So really Twitter's the place to engage with me. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks to everybody in the hobby. Thanks to everybody that's been on the site. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All the best for a great 2022. We'll see you then.
Yeah, and then for WTC, you can find everything on WrestlingTradingCards.com. At the bottom of every page of the website is a link to all the social media platforms that we're on, YouTube, Discord channel, all that stuff is all there. So have fun with the sites, if any errors or anything like that, let us know. But thank you again for everybody for helping out with everything that's going on and bringing everything back up and keeping the hobby alive and going and thriving and sharing the news, sharing information. We've got a lot of new collectors jumping in just like that, which is great. I want to see this hobby keep growing, man. So that's all I got, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks,
make
guys.
sure you
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Good holidays. Stay
everybody,
safe.
Yep. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, like this, share it, comment, complain, as we always say, bitch, praise, whatever you want to do. We appreciate it, man. And with that, I say we're out.